second years and the first years as well. It's a bit of a recap of the anti-doping stuff that the current second years would have completed last year and formed the major part of their DiSE assessment. And it is obviously for the first years who attended the session a couple of weeks back now in Swindon, and those athletes that didn't have a chance to attend because they were at GB camp. So just recapping some information. It will be a little bit of me talking and delivering the presentation, so to speak, and then a little bit of interaction as a poll. And then I'm going to ask all the first years just to stop on to complete part of the testing protocol task that the second years would have already completed. Just a note for the second years, I've been marking your anti-doping workbooks this week, and I will have them all finished by Friday. So you'll have all your anti-doping drugs and sport workbooks back to you, hopefully by the end of the week, providing Joao can get them out to you, but they're all being marked now, about 2/3 of the way through those. Generally pretty good standard, but the stuff on this call will help with some of the feedback that will be sent along with those workbooks. So useful to pay attention. I'll send out the PowerPoint presentation as well after the presentation, just so that you've all got access to the links and stuff that are embedded within the slides. And yeah, so you can go off and access there's a couple of news articles and also some very useful websites that you will need access to. And that will be clear once I've gone through the presentation. So just kicking things off, I would like, if we can, just to have a very, very quick think about why anti-doping is important, why we're delivering this education for you guys. If you can put some ideas in the chat box regarding that, why it's important, please do so now. So 2 questions on the slide now. What is it and why is it important? All quiet at the moment, nothing going in the chat box. Can everyone still hear me okay? Good, Huey, to test if we're taking performance enhancing drugs. Excellent. So that's one aspect. PEDS, yeah, prevents unfair use of performance enhancing drugs. Good, Luke. Thanks, Rico. So 3 answers regarding performance enhancing drugs. Understanding the harm that can be done to our bodies. Absolutely. So good, Abby. So understanding what potential risks there are to us if we're taking medication or the wrong drugs. There are right drugs which will come under medications, but we'll come on to a bit of those. So far, we've got most of the answers around performance enhancing drugs. There's other aspects of anti-doping as well. Thanks, Rico. Yeah, indeed, as Abby said, protects the cleanliness of athletes. So absolutely the right for athletes to compete in clean sport, ensuring a level of fairness. Thank you, Emily. Anything else? The performance enhancing drugs stop athletes taking harmful drugs. Thanks, Joe. I'm going to give it another 10-20 seconds and then I might just ad-lib myself a little bit on this. Fair play in sport. Thank you, Ethan, affecting the fair play in sport. And the only other thing that I'm going to add into that is to ensure that athletes aren't taking recreational drugs as well. I was reading some statistics on this yesterday, and something quite alarming that came up was that there's over 20,000 16 to 24-year-old boys who are engaging in anabolic steroids. So again, a performance enhancing drug. And I'm sure those statistics will increase if we start thinking about recreational drugs such as cannabis and the like. So really making sure that the health and the ethics of our athletes participating in sport is the number one priority. But ultimately, it's about ensuring that level playing field, as you guys have alluded to in the chat box. So thank you very much for that. So just moving on, the World Anti-Doping Agency is the governing body that oversees the global anti-doping policies, and they engage with all the national governing bodies that are sort of our nation-specific ones. And ourselves, England Handball, are connected with UCAD, so UK Anti-Doping, who are responsible for overseeing anti-doping policies in the UK. The England Handball mission statement is at the bottom of the screen there, so you guys can take the time to read that. But essentially, it's becoming a much more prevalent part of what we need to do as a national governing body, as the England Handball Association, and the criteria that we need to meet when engaging with UCAD is becoming much more stringent to ensure that fair play and that clean sport is at the forefront of everybody's minds when we're playing handball, especially on the international stage. There's some grey areas around who can be tested and when, and who we should seek advice from. That's the main parts of the feedback for the drugs and sport workbooks that have already been submitted. From an England Handball or Great Britain Handball perspective, you will only really be tested at EHF and IHF sanctioned events. So if you're selected for a major event with the Great Britain youth teams or senior teams indeed, that's when you're likely to be tested. Really, really important to state, and it might come up in the assessment for the anti-doping part, for the clean sport part of the DiSE program, is that athletes that participate in other sports such as athletics and cycling and so on, they might be part of a national testing pool and what's called the whereabouts program or the Adams program, where they will have to provide a 1 hour time slot every day for a period of 6 months where they might be tested. So that would be, for example, if it was me, informing the relevant bodies, so UCAD, where I will be for 1 hour of every day. So it will be, most athletes would put their home address, 6 a.m, my home address. I'm going to be there from 6 till 7 every morning for the next 6 months, because that's probably where they're going to be. If it changes, the athletes need to tell the appropriate body that their time has changed. So, oh, I'm going on holiday, so I'm going to be in the Bahamas at 6 a.m. on the 24th of November or whatever it might be. So really important to understand information as well. And this is a question that a lot of people tripped up on the assessment before. The only people you should be seeking advice from on anti-doping matters is myself and Sue, because we're the accredited educators to UCAD. So we perform that function for England Handball on this. You can, by all means, ask your parents, ask your doctors, ask your coaches, but they will not give you the correct answers. Myself and Sue are the accredited advisors and educators for England Handball through the UK Anti-Doping Agency. So when you've got questions on anti-doping stuff or on supplements or medicines, myself and Sue are the people to come to on that one. Anti-doping rule violations, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but there's 11 ways in which you can fail a drugs test. It isn't just simply about passing urine and having a banned substance in your sample. There's lots of different ways. We've spoken about this on a few different occasions for most of the people on the call, and for the people that haven't only seen this for the first time, just quite simply have a read through all those different aspects of how you can fail a drugs test or commit an anti-doping rule violation. I will send out a separate video describing these in more detail, but this is really for your awareness that it isn't just about having a banned substance in your sample. A very, very quick one, again, just using the chat box. If you could insert into the chat box what common supplements athletes might take to improve their training performance or support their overall health. So just a very quick, like, whistle stop, one word answers type stuff. You can throw in any types of products that you're aware of, that you've seen in the shops that you're taking yourself. This isn't a trick question. I'm not trying to trip anybody up. I'm sure people are taking supplements. I've been taking lots of vitamin D through the winter. Yeah, so good. So we've got protein, vitamins, creatine, CBD. We've got omega-3 supplements, brilliant, more protein powders, caffeine, absolutely, protein, vitamins. Nice range of supplements going into this pre-workout, Rico. Thank you very much. So a really good range of products that have gone into that question, and it shows that you guys are thinking and have got an awareness of what a supplement actually might look like and what it is. And I'm curious if people, maybe by show of I don't know if you can use emojis on the chat, but just by a show of a thumbs up, if you can, yeah, you can use a thumbs up if people have indeed checked their supplements on the appropriate website. If people can know how to use this function, I'm trying to use it myself and I can't even use the emoji. Or just simply type yes. No one's checking. Luke, Anna, yes, good. We'll come on to the appropriate website in a minute. A lot of the first years, this might be news to you, like the reasons and rationales as to why we need to check our supplements, but I will talk about that in detail in a moment. So the idea about supplements, guys, is, and I haven't put the story on here, but I'll embed it into the PowerPoint afterwards. There are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of examples of things like protein supplements and vitamin supplements that have been contaminated with a banned substance. The market or the industry, so the supplements industry is not regulated very well, and anybody at any time could go and set up their own protein company or their own supplements business and essentially make whatever they want. And there's all kinds of caveats as to what they can and can't do, but essentially they're not obliged to withhold banned substances from their products, providing they're not illegal. So things like anabolic steroids shouldn't be in the products, but there are ways and means of them finding their way into these products. And there's been lots of examples of particularly rugby players that have been caught or produced a sample, so a urine sample that contained a bad substance, and they'll often try and blame supplements that they've been taking for that. So the kind of key thing with supplements is that you guys need to assess the need for it. So how much protein do you need in your diet, if it's indeed protein, or if it's vitamins that you're looking for, or something else that you're using? Do you actually need to take that supplement to get the benefit of it? Assess the risk. So again, how risky is it that you're taking this supplement? Where have you got it from? And have you checked it? And we'll go through the checking process in a minute. And then assess the consequences, because ultimately the consequence of a failed test is potentially your career in ruins, embarrassment to your friends and family, and bringing the Great Britain or England handball into disrepute. So there's massive consequences for failing a test. And it could be as something as innocent as I was just trying to get extra protein in my diet. Therefore, I was taking protein lab whey protein, but it turned out that it had a bad substance in it, which is very, very likely. England Handball really wants to promote a food first approach to nutrition. So where possible, engage with the nutritionists. So we've got Matt Dixon that works with us on the DiSE program. We'll be able to support and advise on that, but there's obviously plenty of other resources out there to look for that nutrition support. In terms of medicines, the second years that were on the call would have done some tasks for me before about checking medicines. Now, it's really, really important to understand that you will be prescribed medicines from your doctor. You can pick up medicines from over the counter. I picked up some paracetamol myself a couple of days ago when I wasn't feeling too great. And you can pick those up from over the counter, no problem, but they are potentially carrying risks with them. So there's a process that you need to go through to check these medications, and there are forms that you can use that I've written at the bottom here to help negate any risk attached to those ones that have got banned substances in. So in terms of those over-the-counter products, or whether or not they're prescription, do you really know what's in the product you're taking? And I've included this story of a chap called Alan Baxter, who competed in the 2002 Winter Olympic Games for Great Britain. He was a downhill skier, and he subsequently got stripped of a silver medal in Salt Lake City due to producing a negative sample, a positive sample. So he failed a drugs test, failed a doping test. And the reason that was put forward was that he was using a Vicks inhaler to manage a cold. So he was struggling with a bit of a cold. And, you know, the Vicks sort of nasal inhalers that you can get. Well, he had gone through the process of checking this medication in the UK, but had gone out to the US and picked up the US version, which had a different ingredient in it. So he failed a drugs test as a result of not checking his medication, assuming it was the same product that he'd picked up from the UK, and was stripped of a silver medal. So really, really, really important that we're checking our either prescribed or over-the-counter medications that we're taking at any point, so that we know and we get into the good habits of checking those medications. And here's some useful links for you guys. The key databases at the bottom for checking your supplements and your medication are at the bottom here. I'm hoping you're all paying attention to this, because I'm going to launch a poll in a moment just to assess the understanding. And then, guys, just the last bit on this, when I send out this presentation, there's a little form just for you to acknowledge receipt of this presentation and the workshop, just so that we've got an accurate record of who has accessed the workshop and the presentation. So without further delay, I'm going to launch the poll. You can answer the questions as they come. So I'm going to launch it now, and feel free to go through as we go. Thanks to those of you that have completed it so far. I'm still waiting for a few more, for about another 4 of you to complete it, and I'm just going to go through each one just to make sure we're all on the same page. Give you guys another 30 seconds. Awesome. So let's just end the poll there. I'm going to share the results with you guys. Can everybody see the results on their screen? Can someone just pop that in the chat box if they can? Lovely, thank you guys. So in terms of question one, which organisation is responsible for anti-doping in the United Kingdom? We've got more or less 100% right on that one, so everyone's aware that it's UKAD that is responsible for that. Who should you seek advice from when checking medicines and supplements? No one's opted for the family doctor. A couple of you have put your RA or GB coach, which is incorrect, and you should all be asking the designated anti-doping personnel, which is myself and Sue, as I spoke about earlier on. Which statement do you agree with here? It's okay to take supplements I buy from the shop without checking if they're eligible. I should always check my supplements in case they're an anti-doping risk. 100% on that one, so well done. Rather worrying, we just, or maybe we didn't spend too long on this, but which website should I use to check any supplements I'm taking? So UKAD is the governing body for anti-doping in the UK. Global DRO is the place where you check medicines, and Informed Sport is the place where you check your supplements. So that is the one that you should be checking for supplementation. For supplements is Informed Sport. Which statement should you agree with? I should always check my medications I'm taking on the correct website. I do not need to check over-the-counter medicines, and if I'm prescribed the medicine, I'm allowed to take it and will not be penalised in a doping test. So the correct answer is the top one. I should check all and any medications I'm taking on the correct website. If you're prescribed a medicine, you are not allowed to take it unless you have filled in a therapeutic use exemption form, which we'll talk about in a moment. If you have not filled in a therapeutic use exemption form, but you've got a prescription, it doesn't matter if that's got banned substance in it or not. If you've not completed the correct form, you will still be penalised and punished accordingly. Which website should I use to check medications? We spoke about that a moment ago. Global DRO is the website that you need to check for medications. If you're prescribed the medication, the form that you need to complete is a therapeutic use exemption form. I've got creative with these other ones. The DAF and the MCA don't exist. The therapeutic use exemption form is the one that you should complete, and they are available on the UKAD website. If you take a medicine in a foreign country, it's likely to have the same ingredients as the UK version. False, absolutely. Well done for those of you who have completed that answer correctly. That's the example I gave from the Alan Baxter case. And the strict liability actually, yeah, absolutely means if I test positive for a bad substance, I'm solely responsible. No one else is carrying the can, taking the blame for you on that one. And then the last question, which statement do you agree with the most? Most of you have gone for all of the above, which I hope would be the case. And maybe someone just got a little bit trigger happy on their answers with that one. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen now and stop the poll and download those results. And I'm going to wrap things up. So, guys, thank you so much to the second years that have re-engaged with this workshop tonight. You guys have been through this stuff already. I'm going to ask all the first years to stay on the call now. The second years, you're more than welcome to jump off the call. Thank you for attending. And I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to jump out, and I'll crack on with the first years. You're very welcome, guys. Thank you. Lovely. Okay, guys, if possible, I have sent through to your emails, and I can pop it into the chat box as well. If I open this up. I sent through to your email this afternoon, or not so long ago, actually, a couple of minutes ago, probably about 8 o'clock. I sent through a resource earlier, which is the testing protocol task. I've put it into the chat box now. Feel free to download that. What I would like you guys to do is have a little stab at putting those, the task is pretty self-explanatory. If you can download that and have a go at putting those tasks into order, those steps into the correct order, and then come back to me and, well, let's make it a race so that the person who thinks they've got the correct order first can present back to the rest of the group. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to do that. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to open the floor now to one of the groups that would like to go first. I will open it to Joe. In fact, I'm going to open it to Joe Mahoney's group first, because they seem to be pretty confident that they had completed. Joe, I'm not asking you to present, but I'm asking someone from your group to step forward and give us an idea of the order in which they'd put the testing protocol in.
Okay, so we got, should I say like the first couple words from each one? Yeah,
I'm gonna pull up the
oh, okay,
the slide, mate, and then it would be much easier for me just to manipulate the stuff. Okay, so just tell me what you think goes first then, mate.
okay. So we had the second down on the left first.
This one, yeah.
Yeah, and then that one there second.
Okay.
Then the one top right.
This one, yeah.
Yeah. Then second down on the right, I think. Yeah.
This one, yeah.
Then third down on the right.
Move this one up here, yeah.
Yeah. And then like that.
You think it finishes here, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then I will open it up to Ethan's group to challenge if they would like to, or confirm if they think it's the same.
I got the same as that.
Okay, and the last group, I think, which group haven't I mentioned yet?
Who's our group?
Flynn.
Yeah.
Flynn, have you guys got anything different to this slide?
No, I think that's right.
Are you sure?
In fact, is that the one third down on the right? Should that be the third one? And then
the third one down on the left, you want to swap it for the third one down on the left? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then swap that one and put that at sixth, and then everything would be right.
Okay.
But swap that one with the third down on the left.
Yeah, I'm not doing it because I'm just going to make a comment on it, if that's okay. So yeah. It's a nice idea and a good opportunity to maybe like challenge that one, but this is the correct order. And the reason for that is if you think about what this one's asking us, provide details of any therapeutic use exemption forms. So that's when we spoke earlier on about medications that might have been prescribed that could contain a bad substance. But then it says include any comments from the procedure on the sample collection form. So that means, does anyone want to hazard a guess at what that might mean?
Any like improvements or like ways of doing it differently?
Potentially, Joe. Yeah, potentially. But essentially, what it means is, so I've had the pleasure of going through an anti-doping test myself, and you have the DCO with you at all times throughout, and going through these very strict procedures. And the idea that we're giving you here with this testing procedure is so you know what to expect. So when it says include any comments from the procedure on the sample collection form, when they're offering you, for example, the A and B samples, when they're offering you the A and B samples here, which have come in 2 glasses, 2 vessels, they shouldn't have been tampered with. They should be completely sealed. So therefore, if there's a comment to make on if the vessel has been broken, or the seal's been broken, or the DCO left for whatever reason and came back, because they should be with you at all times, this is where you need to make those comments to say, I'm not very happy with the procedure. It wasn't very clear from the outset that the DCO was going to be doing this, or was going to leave, or the vessel was broken. Does that make sense? So you should be here commenting on anything unusual that happened, because that might then support you with your claim against if you were found to have a banned substance in your sample. So it's really important that at this point is that completed the whole procedure, and now I'm going to try to think really hard, was that as it was supposed to be done? Does that make sense to everybody? I mean, a bit of a rubbish question from myself, but that's ultimately where it is. That's our last opportunity to make those comments and make sure that we are protecting ourselves, because ultimately it's our sample that's going in and it's our career that's on the line. And then after we've signed it, the last one, there's no going back. So making all those checks then, and trying to remember any medications you took in the last 7 days, like a cold and flu medicine, or anything that it might have been in those last few days if you're ill. Now, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm just going to share one last bit of information with you, like to kind of plant in your brain how serious this stuff is. So most of you know I was fortunate enough to play in the national team for about a period of 5 years, and we had a training camp in Brazil. So it was in Sao Paulo in Brazil back in 2011, and one of our players, I won't tell you which player it was, but he got injured in one of the games there. And the Brazilian physio, the Brazilian medic, gave our physio a painkiller. Our player had, I think he'd broken his ribs. And the physio was trying to give our player the medication. Fortunately, we'd had a lot of education around anti-doping, and myself and a couple of other players raised our eyebrows and said to the physio, have we checked this medication? Do we know where it's from, and whether or not it's got a bad substance in it? And our physio said, oh, we can trust their doctor. It's their team doctor, their team physio. They wouldn't have given us anything untoward. They wouldn't have given us anything that's banned. Well, our player didn't take it because we were adamant that he shouldn't take it. And we did a search when we got back to the hotel. So this was all happening on the team bus. And it turns out that the substance that they were giving him did have a banned substance in it. So we went through the global DRO website and checked it all. Now, their doctor, our physio, and the player were all willing to take this medication. If that player had taken that medication, and we don't know if he'd have had a random drugs test or not, but there's a high chance they would have been banned for the Olympic Games that they took part in 2012. So as a story, I hope a good example of how important this is. It's it goes without saying, like it just takes one mistake to potentially ruin a career. So think very wisely about those situations you might find yourselves in, and try and have that awareness around you at all times, because not everyone's thinking like you. Not everyone's thinking through your eyes as your body, the strict liability piece that we spoke about earlier on. The physios aren't thinking like that, although we're educating those. Your team coaches aren't thinking like that, although we're educating those. You are solely responsible for what goes into your body, as we put in that poll earlier on. So I hope that's been a very useful conversation or monologue, if you like, from myself. And I'm going to open the floor now and give you guys maybe a minute to think about any questions that you've got about this, because I can appreciate there might be a lot of thoughts running around in your heads at the moment regarding this topic, because it's such a serious tone that I'm taking and a serious message that we're delivering. So I'll give you guys a few seconds to think, and if you've got any questions, you feel free to unmute or indeed pop them in the chat box. If you've got no questions, you can just put "thanks, Bobby" into the chat box, and you can exit when you're ready. Okay, so good question from Joe. I'm just going to keep talking. You guys can still feel free to leave because this recording will go out. If you've needed to take a medication, how long does it take before you have to declare it? So, Joe, that would usually depend on situation. So, if you're at an event, if you're at a European Championships or so on, you'd need to probably tell the team manager or the head coach, and they would go through the process of supporting you make that TUE, so inputting that TUE. There is what's called a retrospective TUE, so there is a time allowed to go back and fill in that form. I don't know the exact time frame, but I can find out and I'll put it into the email and the other information that goes out with the anti-doping stuff, because it's a really good question, Joe. But there is an opportunity to do it retrospectively. You just have to make sure that you've done it by the time you've been tested, I believe. Ethan, yeah, absolutely. You can email me questions at any time about this. It's a very important subject, and if anything does occur between now and the next time, you're having those thoughts about this topic, then feel free just to pop them through an email. Thanks, Huey. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Ethan. Take it easy. Bye-bye.